Welcome back, one and all, to the No Tact Talk podcast, where the only rule here is to have no tact. I always like to say that in the beginning because every now and then I get like an influx of kind of like, listeners and stuff like that. And they email me surprisingly still, and they say, hey, what is that? What does that even mean? Like to have no tact. So without getting too into it, basically, I grew up, and this is for my guests too as well. I grew up when people were I was raised kind of old school. My I think he's born in 51. So I was raised, very old school, Birmingham, Alabama, that type of, style. And they were like, you so uncouth. You got no tact. He kind of rough around the edges. He a good guy, but, still, right. And so I started to kind of lean into trying to be like everybody else and fit in these different type of molds and stuff. And after a while, I realized, no, I'm a little different. I'm gonna keep it that way. So fast forward, and if you want to hit a whole story, please go back to the other episodes. I talk about it a lot, but people ask a lot about it, and I just want to make sure that y'all kind of got an idea. I started leaning into it, to who I was, what I was, and who I wanted to be, and that's it. So no tact talk. You can say keep it 100, but I don't like that because it kind of got a lot of negative kind of tone to it, in my personal opinion. So I said, hey, I'm gonna use what people said about me. I'm gonna make it a positive. I said, hey, I'm no tact. I don't have it. And again, I'm not around here just saying crazy stuff just for whatever, but that's just the type of personality that I have. And this is a no tact talk. I always call the people that support the podcast no tacticians, because we live unapologetically, no matter what we do. So whether you are an astronaut, or you a teacher, or you a janitor, whatever, hey, in your realm, you live that no tact lifestyle. So that's pretty much what that is. Now, with all that being said, today I have an amazing guest per usual. I first found out about him through the Serendipity with Inky Johnson podcast. If you don't know who he is, look him up as well. Dope guy, puts out amazing content. But as I was listening, he's one half of the of that podcast for season 2. I was listening to this guy, and it felt kind of like home for me. It felt kind of like the conversations that I have had with like my uncles or other mentors that I've had. I'm like, how you listen to a podcast and you driving down the road or something like that, you find yourself kind of like nodding, like, yeah, and then you ask a question, and then maybe 5 minutes later, they kind of like dive deep into the question you just asked. He's like, it's like they in my head, right? So for me, I want to make sure that the guests that I have on also kind of correlate with what I am in line with, but also that I want to make sure it's for y'all ultimately, is that we put out good information, good content, like relevant. Because like here, I'm about to introduce you in a second, but here's like, I don't really care about Cardi B's hair or what Kanye doing this week or whatever else, right? I care about what really matters at the end of the day. When if all the social media shut down, who are you? What are you going to talk about, right? So I have Oak. He said I could call him Oak. For people who know him, Oak is he's a professional educator, mentor, and like I said before, he has the podcast, Serendipity with Inky Johnson podcast. With all that being said, welcome to the No Tact Talk podcast. All right.
What's happening there?
What's going on?
Jay? Man, it is truly an honor and a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
I'm still kind of taken aback by all of it.
Yeah.
And but I appreciate you for reaching out.
Yes, sir.
And we instantly vibe, being from Birmingham, Alabama, and
correct. Yeah.
I know the culture. I know your uncle.
You might. I got people in Georgia. Let me see, Oklahoma, Selma, Alabama. I got folks all around kind of the country. And so, hey, you never know. Like, I got a friend of mine I met in church one time a long way back, and I'm pretty sure he is my wife's cousin. And this is weird, like how you just kind of start talking to folks like, Aunt May? Oh yeah, she was at the cookout last week. Yeah. Yeah. And so I just wanted to go ahead.
And there's a distinct culture, with Southern people, with, especially as you were saying, your father being born, I think you said 51.
Right.
My father was born in 50.
Yeah.
And, we all know what was going on during that time in which they were growing up, and they kind of passed that on to us.
Correct.
So that's why I said there's a kinship. There's a kinship of experience. There's a kinship of shared experience that immediately drew me to you once we started conversing. So I'm excited to be here, man. Let's chop it up. What you got?
Okay, so I got a bunch of different type of stuff. So like I changed my notes as I go. I know we talked a couple of weeks. I mean, I probably changed the topics a bunch of times, but most recently, I kind of want to talk about what I was talking about yesterday. So yesterday I had an opportunity in the Army. I'm what you call an MRT, right? It's a master resiliency trainer. You know, keyword resilience, right? And so I had like kind of like the young bucks, like, you know, privates and stuff, right? For the first half of the day, for the second half of the day, I kind of had like the sergeants like myself kind of stuck in our ways, blanket leadership, just kind of working around that, right? But the meat and potatoes of the entire day was something we call ATC, which is an activating event. It is thoughts about that event, and then the consequences. Now, I kind of started in reverse. So when we think consequences, normally people think about, you know, bad stuff. But what I wanted to impress upon them was like, hey, the consequences could be good or bad. An activating event could be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's all how we kind of respond to it. So I'm just kind of giving you some background before I kind of get into it. So I kind of gave an example. An activating event, you know, had like a single soldier sitting right there. Hey, the girl texts you in the morning, good morning. Or hey, right, with the 3 Ys or whatever they were talking about. You know, you could tell like she kind of feeling you. Activating the event. The thoughts about the event. Oh man, she feeling me. Okay, cool. I might have a chance. She texts me first, right? And then the consequences, you might go on a date or something like that. So that was like a light example. And then I use the same example. Okay, activating the event. She texts you. You text her right back, and she don't respond, you know, for like 6 hours. And so now we're in that thought. We're in that thoughts, right? So we're like, oh man, did I say something wrong? I say something crazy. You know, the anxiety starts to kind of hit in.
What I would call that is you have that space to create your narrative.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
now, and that's cool because you can create whatever narrative you want. You can create the narrative of she got busy. You can create the narrative of she's not feeling me. You can create the narrative of she's trying to see how serious I am. Am I going to text again?
Yeah.
You know, is he going to chase me? Type deal. You know what I'm saying? So there are a plethora of narratives that you could create, yet you still have the power to create it.
Absolutely.
That's if you lean into just your own creativity and your own creation of the narrative, as opposed to trying to jump through the hoops and chase the ghost of trying to figure out what she means by not texting back.
Yeah.
In 6 hours, then you'll be like a dog chasing his tail. You'll be what I call chasing ghosts.
Right.
So create your narrative. Okay, she got busy, no pressure.
And just let it be that. You know?
And let it be that.
And
or what, you know, whatever you want it to be, yet you still created it though.
Yep. And so we talked about a bunch of different scenarios, you know, because the thoughts part is what really kind of, you know, like you said, guides us and you know what's in the back of our head while we're doing whatever throughout the day. And then the consequences could be good or bad. Like you saying, hey, she was probably at work or her phone died or whatever else. And so 8 times out of 10, I still talk about it 2 times too. When it might be that. It might be that bad thing. We'll get to that here in a second, but 8 times I say out of 10, hey, it was probably just something else. We kind of in our own head. I wanted to get your thoughts on the entire thing because what I said was anything can be ATC. Anything can be an activating event. I say, I mean, the doctrine we had when I was learning about it, you probably have maybe 300 to 500 activating events in a day. Yeah. Action, your thoughts about that action, and then what actually happened from the activating event. So what do you think about all of
that? I agree. There are infinite amount of activating events. And then what draws your attention? What captures your attention? What captures your imagination? Right. So the activating event, and then which ones do you allow to enter into your thought process? Right.
Yeah.
So then after you have the activating events, what happens? What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? How do you process it? How do you create again that narrative of what is actually going on? Right. Yeah. Because you can have an activating event and 10 people have 10 different responses to the same event. What is yours? You being able to own it as opposed to allowing the activated event to drive the discourse, to drive your thoughts, to drive your feelings.
Yeah.
So now it's like you're following others. And your prime example, okay, the activating event was what happened at the Oscars. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
and
sure.
then now everyone had their responses,
Mm-hmm.
many different responses. Now, what are the consequences? How does it play out? How does your thoughts to the activating event play out in your own life? How is your life made better? The conversations that you have, are you more in tune with social emotional discourse? Are you more into just the emotional aspect of someone says something crazy about my wife, and this is how I'm going to respond. If somebody says something crazy about my loved one, this is how I'm going to respond. If I'm the one that was the recipient of someone else's aggression, how do I respond? All of those different responses are like just a teaching tool. It pushes the culture along. So it either pushes the culture along in a quote unquote negative way, or in a way that's not healthy, or we can push the culture along in a way that leaves us better off. So
I feel that.
You once you understand what actions, what external stimuli you allow into your thoughts, what are they? Then how do they make you feel? How do they make you act? And then what are the consequences of those thoughts? What are the consequences of those actions?
All right.
It gets real
sticky,
streamlined.
Yeah.
But my thing is, for real, with everything, is being in front of it. Being in front of, once the activating event happens, right? That's the part we can't control. Everything else after that, you pretty much can control it, even the consequence. Okay. You can control not necessarily what the consequence is, yet you can control how you feel about how you deal with the consequence. If you're in front of it. But if it's like, if I react to something, I react to someone slapping me, right? In such a way that it brings me momentary gratification, then the consequence pretty much is not going to be something that I'm going to feel good about 2 weeks later.
That kind of got to already be in you though, right? Because you have a very small window to think about after somebody slap you. So it kind of, you already have to be having a conversation and doing what you got to do to keep that peace.
Yes, it has to be in you, but it doesn't mean that you're born with it.
Yeah,
like you could work towards having a thought process of restraint. You could work towards keeping your composure in the middle of chaos.
Yeah.
Which is why, when you're teaching, you want to teach, or when you were training, like when you went to basic training.
Yeah.
They basically did what? They created chaos.
Yeah.
To see how you would respond.
Absolutely.
I don't know the particulars of it. Yeah,
I was chaos. You about right.
know that they created a chaotic environment.
Yeah.
And for you to create the habit, you to build a habit of response in a chaotic environment. Now, of course, when we take it to the nth level, we're talking about Navy SEALs, and we're talking about Army Rangers. And,
correct. Yeah.
Right. But it's still the same formula. Create the chaos in practice. I coach football. Create the chaos. Create difficulty. Put you in a difficult situation. We're going to run. Now you got 3 downs. You got 4 downs. Defense. You got 4th and goal. First and goal from the 6-yard line. After we ran all of these sprints, after you did all of these push-ups, now can you stop the offense from scoring?
Correct.
Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But what we did, we created a habit. We created a habit of thought.
Muscle memory.
A habit of mind.
Yeah. And so when we talked about with consequences, we broke it down and we said, okay, consequences are basically, obviously how you respond from the thoughts and everything that happened, right? It's emotions and then your reactions. Right. And so it's be able to control, and this is good, again, good or bad. I know it's a bad kind of, we look at consequences being bad, but you can have good consequences from, what I'm saying? So, okay, that's of course, that's easy. That's why we always talk about kind of like the bad part, because hey, good consequence. Okay, great. Awesome. I don't need to control my emotions or understand how I'm gonna react. And so then we broke it down even further. Now we have the dynamic of a male and a female and how we react. And I say this all the time on the podcast. I said, I feel like men are way more emotional than females and women, however you want to call it. I do. You know,
Yes.
I always use the example of, and one girl was like, yeah, she was in the back. It was so funny. I said, think about, we always hear like on social media, something like the guy, you know, he's holding stuff in, kind of passive aggressive. You know, we usually don't say much, right? And then after a while, he just flipped one day. And the girl's talking to her friend, like, girl, I don't know what happened to Jay. Like, he just up and started acting crazy one day. I don't even know. And that's because we're holding those emotions in. And then until a point to where we can't do it anymore. And now we do one looking crazy, you know? And so it's the inability to communicate those emotions. And, you know, because I feel like, okay, emotions can be in check, you know, you put them in check, you kind of express those emotions. But when we're reacting, I think it's very, oftentimes it's not as positive as we'd like it to be. You know, in our head, I'm fed up, I'm justified, boom, 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 boom. But to her, we've been chilling.
First time they're experiencing it.
Correct.
It's the first time they're experiencing your emotion, whereas you've experienced your emotion for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, and so equate that to my boss. Okay, I've been holding it in. Again, my emotions and reactions to the consequences of whatever activating event. Now I'm flipping on my boss. He's like, where did this come from? She's like, I don't, you know. And so you could kind of put this in any type of category. And it goes along with what you were saying. We control that. And go ahead.
The thing is, I guess one of the questions is, where do you learn to process your emotions as a man? And I'll wait for the answer.
So I'll give you the answer I gave them because someone asked that same question. We talked about nature versus nurture. You know, we talked about how you can, you know, how you grow up, you can get it from your, you know, your parents or, you know, other mentors and stuff like that. We talked about faith. You know, because in the military we have like a chaplain, you know, like a, you know, chaplain is, and then we have like MRT with me. Kind of, they call me the positivity guy, hunt the good stuff, right? And then you have like the medical side, like behavioral health. You know, that's if you go to behavioral health, hey, you know, whatever, right? I feel like that it depends on the person. It's very situational because some people might like to, hey, reading a book, might have to have an outlet to be able to control it. Other people have to kind of attack it head on. But I do. Go ahead.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yet what I'm hearing are strategies how to deal with it. The question is, where do and when do we learn how to process our emotions as men? Like, for instance, at 4, you fall off your bike. You're not taught to process your emotions. You're taught to suck it up and get back on the bike.
All right.
You're not taught, and you're not given us space.
Okay, I see you. Yeah.
How did it feel to fail at riding the bike into the point to where how did it feel riding the bike and you failed at accomplishing your mission of riding the bike without falling? You fail. Okay, you scrape your knee. Some of that is the hurt of your knee. A lot of that, though, is the hurt of not being able to master riding this bike in this moment.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Meaning we don't teach young people to give them a space to process their emotions and process their thoughts, and then give them a space to articulate it, especially boys.
Yeah.
So now you get men who really all we have is to suppress until we can't suppress it any longer.
Right.
And it comes out in a very negative way, and it comes out in a very debilitating way. Because we don't have spaces. So the thing, I think, going forward, us being where we are in our lives and interacting with younger people, to give them the space to, you know, a young Thundercat may fail a test.
Yeah.
Instead of me first going in on, did you study? Why didn't you, you know, do your best and this, that, and other? The first question is, how you feel about failing? Talk to me. Right?
Yeah.
Just, you know, how does it feel to not meet your goal? Because what I'm trying to do is create a safe space for you to articulate yourself, because that is what's going to ultimately lead to whatever traumatic experiences you having, that's going to ultimately lead to part of your healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to lead to you not bottling things up, and then all of a sudden it comes out and you just look like just the crazy guy.
Okay, I like that. So okay, I got you. I'm on the same streamline now. I'll use myself as an example. Last church I was at in Austin, we had like these men's groups, and it was such rare air. I say that a lot when men are able to kind of be honest and open, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, and so we were going around the time when Ahmaud Arbery was happening, when all these things are happening in the media with the police department, stuff like that, and it was way more than like that barbershop kind of feel. And
Yeah.
I saw people get healed. We talked about therapy. I talked about my dealings with like friendship, because I have like whew, I was telling myself like I take a friend serious. Like my dad taught me. I told him all the time. He taught me what a friend was too early. Like in high school, I could see the fakeness coming from a mile away. And I was like, no, you ain't really trying to be my friend for real, right? So I saw men. They said, hey, I've really needed this, and these are like guys in like their 50s, 40s. Like you said, we didn't really have a space. And so my generation, I'm 29. The world for me is kind of like, it's okay, go to therapy. We're just now like barely scraping the surface with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a place where age didn't matter. For the guys that are listening to, I think of pride gets in our way a lot. My ego. A guy was like, hey Jay, he pulled me to the side. I never forget this. He pulled me to the side. He was like, I think he was 49 or something. He told me, he's like, I'm 49 years old. You told me you were 28. And I honestly ain't want to listen to you. He said this, he said, you ain't been through enough life yet to understand, where I come from, this, that, and the third. But he said, what you said kind of changed me, right? And then I told somebody else like the next day, like, hey, I didn't like this guy, the guy that was leading it, the whole thing. And I had to be honest with him and tell him, I had to put myself aside and like, hey, can't be him correct, of course, you ain't acting crazy. But hey, I don't like this and the third about you. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just harboring it in. And so it was all different situations like that. But I think that we can get to that space a little bit easier. We let ourselves go. We let Jay go, right? Oak go, because we get in our own way.
Yeah.
Having mediums like the football team or, the barbershop or these meetings or stuff, it kind of helps you get into that mode, but you got to do the work. You can listen to every motivational speaker every single day of your life, but until you're ready to do the work, or, like you said, getting up at 6 a.m., having that time before the world wake up or whatever, then you'll never be able to get to it.
And there's a couple of things that you said, like the elder who said they didn't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
And then you having to decipher between the leader and how you felt about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? We adopt the mantra of the message is the message.
All right.
The message from the devil can be just as transformative as the message from the angel.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into the message.
Correct.
Because it regardless of where it comes from, because it came to you, it must be divine. Mm-hmm. Unless you don't see yourself as divinity.
Okay. It's how you
if
see
you
yourself.
start with, yeah. If you start with, I am divine, so thus whatever message comes to me, regardless of the vehicle from which it comes, it must be a divine message because I am of divinity. Now it's up to me and my processing and my discernment to make it work for me. But I'm not going to get caught up in where the message comes from. Like I learned this is my 6th year at a school, K-8 school, right?
Yeah.
I've always been in a middle school or a high school. I never been in a school with elementary students. And these babies have taught me so much about life. Like it sometimes brings tears to me because the purity of who they are, the sincerity of who they are, the honesty of their words.
Yeah.
Right. It's not clouded by jaded experiences that they've had. So how I have to look at that is, it's not necessarily this 6-year-old and them wanting to give me a hug, or them wanting to say, I like your shoes, or good morning, Mr. Mitchell. It is the spirit by which they're speaking to me. And that spirit, though, is coming from the universe. It's coming from a place of divinity.
Yeah.
Or they may be saying, they may say something crazy, or I may think it's crazy, but they may offer me a correction. Okay, that's divinity too, right? So I just don't want us to get caught up in the notion that it has to be, the message has to come in a pre-package that we like. You may like the package, you may like how it's wrapped up, but then when you open it up, it may be a bomb.
Yeah.
And blow your whole world up.
Correct. Man, that's
right.
good.
But it can be a paper sack and be a pork chop sandwich that you just been waiting for.
Yeah. I had one of them in a while. We had grilled pork chops the other day, but hey, question about that though. So did you grow up with South meat? You ever know what that is?
Yeah, I know, man.
Okay, I was making sure. South meat. I was talking to my friend the other day. He was like, "You still eat that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We do connected sauce, South meat, spam."
I got connected sauce them on.
My brother, he's in Maryland right now. He orders it online. He still wants to get it up there.
And we ain't finished getting it. Yeah, I could film them on.
Yeah. We had a neighbor who used to give us deer meat all the time. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, that's besides the point. We had I was going through a lot of your content, and one thing that stuck out to me was the difference between fear and being scared. I think it was one of the videos in the morning. I thought that was really it kind of tied into those activating events, because when we get in our thoughts, it's like, okay, putting a name to it. Like, am I afraid? Like, am I fearing something? Like, am I crippled by this, or am I just scared?
Right.
So can you kind of dive into? Go ahead.
Being scared, it should propel you, right? It should propel you. I'm scared to do this, and that's why I'm going to do it. I'm going to overcome this anxiety that I have, this blockage, right? Fear is the absence of love. So if I'm fearful of something, then it's going to paralyze me. I'm not going to move. Like sometimes, people are not necessarily afraid to step out on faith. They're fearful of stepping out on faith because they understand, there's a belief that if I step out on faith, then it's not going to result in the thing that I want. It's not going to result into the outcome that I'm looking for, right? So if all of it is just a bowl of soup of oxymoronic events, because if you're saying you're stepping out on faith, then what comes out of faith? Hope, faith, then what? Love.
Yeah.
So you can't have hope, faith, fear, right? So if you're saying you're walking on faith for real, then that automatically propels you to doing whatever it is that your heart desires, wherever your mind is taking you, wherever your creative desires are taking you. That and to be scared to do it, yes, you should be scared. That means you're aware. That means you are cognizant of what's going on around you. It's not blind. It's not reckless. That's what being scared is. Being scared is just those senses, your mental senses, your emotional senses just perking up, so you can make sure that you're stepping into a place that's going to ultimately lead you to health and prosperity.
Yeah.
Fear, you just won't move. You become stagnant, and life keeps going. And what happens as a result, as life keeps going and you don't move, then that's when you go down this place of depression and feeling sorry for yourself. And now you get resentful and angry and all of these other emotions that comes up because of fear. Yeah. Because the absence of love is fear.
Absence of love is fear. And then I've talked to people who they're like, I get what you're saying. I'm pretty sure, and I always like to, like, again, if I'm listening to this episode right now, I get what y'all saying, but I had these experiences, and it's I don't know, like it's easy for you. That's what people always say. It's easy for y'all to say that y'all doing it already. Like, but how do I even begin to break through or to conquer that fear?
Okay, right now I'm fearful of going out on the circuit of talking about this stuff and talking about education, talk about my experience in education to other educators, to young educators, because well, I think I know that I have experiences that will help the next generation of educators along, right? I'm clear on that. Having done, and in the middle doing serendipity and feedback, I'm clear on that, but I'm still fearful. So I'm in the midst of this season of breaking out of my fear. Like as vulnerable as I can be about it. So slowly but surely, I'm working on my content, I'm working on my presentation, and just to step out. And it may bomb, it may be great. I don't know. But and there's some days where I feel good about it, and most days I'm like, nah, man, it's all right. I just stay in this little lane that I'm in. So I understand the notion of fear being debilitating. Because remember, when I'm talking, I'm not talking to you. You're just hearing my conversation with God. So anything that I say, please understand that this is what Oak is going through. This is what I'm going through.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that I'm processing for myself. I'm just sharing with whoever is listening. Like so that. It's not I'm over here saying, "Oh, I got it." No, I'm saying I'm in the middle. I'm in the arena, and my face is muddy and got sand on it. I'm getting my butt kicked. And I'm still getting up. I'm still fighting through it. Like this fear may paralyze me for today, but it's not going to paralyze me tomorrow. It may paralyze me tomorrow, but it's not going to paralyze me on Monday.
Do you have something that you do? You have something that you do like prior to like a big event or something like that like a affirmation or whatever?
No.
You kind of go straight into
it? It's really just day in and day out. That's why 6 a.m. is start time.
Okay. So you already at that moment because you got up so early and was able to have your time. That's your thing.
Right. Because I don't say something every day. Why? Because I don't have something to say every day.
I noticed that.
I'm not just on here just to get the responses and I got something to give. Some days I don't have it to give. Or some days like today, the only thing I had to give was me taking my old butt out for the first time in 2 years pre-COVID and playing tennis.
Yeah.
That was my 6 a.m. was the start time. That was me stepping out and I was nervous as heck. Because I didn't know how my body would respond. So that was me walking through my process. That's why that 6 a.m. was start time. It's not just in a formula. It's not just in I'm gonna get up and speak for 2-3 minutes and post it on IG. This is what I've been doing my whole life, man.
Yeah. I always tell people to kind of get a couple of notches under their belt first. That's one way. Start super small. I love the I forgot what guy said. There's probably a bunch of people did, but the first win of the day is like making up your bed, right? Or
make your bed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I tell you, make your bed. Put your feet on the floor and make your bed. Right? You can do those two things. You 2-0 for the day. You're 2-0 for the day. You put your feet on the floor, you make your bed. Now, what's your first routine? What is it that you do? Whether you roll over and do push-ups, whether you go brush your teeth, whether you go take a shower, whether you meditate, whether you pray. Then now you're 3-0. Like when you look at it like that, by the time you walk out the door, you're undefeated.
Yeah.
Then now you give yourself a chance at the day. You give yourself a chance at being successful for the day. Then when you get back in and start to lay your head down, reflect on it. And I guarantee you, if you reflect on it and you have your perspective, not someone else's perspective, nor someone else's expectations, your own perspectives and your own expectations, you're going to lay your head down with more wins than losses. Yeah. And today would be a win.
And on the other end, that's what I was going to say too. Okay, cool. You've done that. And now at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you earn your sleep. I'm really big about telling to people, right? Okay, so you go to bed and you kind of reflect. I think everybody generally does that, whether it be in the shower or something like that on the way home from work. What did I do today? What did I accomplish? Especially for men, like, because we're very tend to be naturally ambitious, and it's like earn your sleep. If you feel like you didn't do enough on Tuesday, all right, Wednesday we gotta double down. And as you do it, it's just making little notches, in that lifestyle. I was thinking about it today before we started recording. I got all this stuff, man. when I first started this podcast, I post all the time. I was in my closet, had this little cheap. I had the Apple headphones. That was it, and I was recording on the laptop. And the closet was a perfect place to record to this day, still, because you got all the clothes around you, it's good sound and everything. And I'm looking around, and I want to talk about too. Y'all talked about gratitude. That was one of my favorite episodes. Y'all talked about gratitude, but I was like, okay, I got the light thing going on, I got my little mixer and my notes over here, this, that, and the third. But ultimately, I was able to be like, man, like, no, aside from all the stuff, I was listening to him like 2 years ago, who Jay was 2 years ago, versus how now I was like, man, I've kind of grown a little bit, like the way I talk, like, my cadence when I speak kind of thing, is a little bit better. And so like that made me feel better than all the other things that I've done. And so when I'm having that gratitude for the things like the growth, because hopefully we're growing a little bit, even if it's by, millimeters a day, you can look back and say, hey, well, I have grown a little bit. So maybe I can kind of double down that again, have the moment I was able to see where I was, and this is where I'm at now, use that, let that fuel me, and I can keep going. So it's when people take inventory of the stuff that they've done, I think it kind of helps along with that fear as well.
Yes, and the aspect of taking inventory of your own growth is you making sure that you're using your own metric.
Yeah. Don't be comparing yourself to other people. Yeah.
And sometimes not even comparing yourself to yourself. Because yesterday I was able to do 10 things.
Okay.
Right. Let's say yesterday was Friday. I was able to do 10 things because I got a great amount of sleep and rest and peace on Thursday night. Well, Friday, although I got a lot of things accomplished, my spirit wasn't right. My mind wasn't right.
Sorry, that's my dog.
My emotional stuff wasn't right. And so I didn't get as much sleep as I wanted to on Friday night. So if I compare what I did Friday to what I did Saturday, Friday would be way more. Yet I didn't get the sleep on Friday night to go into Saturday as I got Thursday night to go into Friday. So I can't compare what I did Friday to Saturday. So it's always relational. It's always just understanding it and changing your perspective every day, shifting your perspective every day, right? Now, if you go to bed and you're not at peace with it, and you're like, you know what? I just decided to be less than my best.
Yeah.
Okay. Then now my perspective, my mindset, which is the most important thing here, just shifted. I'm going to give my best. It may not result in what I did yesterday, but I gave my best.
That's good.
The process over the product. So I earned my sleep because I gave my best. I didn't earn my sleep because I did more yesterday than I did today, or I did more today than I did yesterday.
Quality over quantity.
Because I gave it what I had, and I gave some of what I didn't have. Although it may not result in, I didn't do as much on Saturday as I did on Friday.
Yeah.
Because now, remember, expectations, whether they're yours or someone else's, you have to release them. You're not trying to live up to your expectations or anyone else's.
Your own expectations, which you set for
yourself. Let them go too. Let your own expectations go too. Because your own expectations are rooted in your experiences.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Like your expectations are rooted in what someone else has told you, what society has told you. Like they're still coming from a place of maybe, possibly, of a lack of divinity. So divinity has no expectations. This is just my thought. This is just Oak speak.
Yeah, for real.
Divinity has no expectations. We put expectations on ourselves, and we allow others to put expectations on us. And that is the root of your shortcoming. That is the root of your lack of peace, lack of happiness, lack of momentness, lack of being where your feet are. Be where your feet are. That simply means let everything go, and whatever is happening right now, like right now, I'm right here.
Right.
I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm listening to what I'm saying. I'm processing this conversation, and I'm moving forward. So I can literally say, in this moment, I am where my feet are. I can't say that all the time. right? But right now, I am where my feet are.
Cool. So, you know what? That's a great transition. I like it. Where did the wisdom of oak come from? Right?
Oh man, I
Like,
think I said it this
I
week.
know
I
it's
think.
a big like question. You got, I don't know what, different points you want to touch on in your life, but I always think about that when I listen to like a speaker, like, man, because you see people that read stuff like, you used to go places and listen to folks, like you can tell they took the time out to study. But there's a point when they step away from the podium and you could tell like that's kind of them, right?
Mhm.
And so what kind of shaped you to get to where you are today? No particular time frame, but
It's simple. It's simple for me. My grandmother,
okay.
my dad's mom,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad. They always spoke in sort of parables, analogies. Like my dad would always say, use your head for something outside the head, right?
Yeah. I like it.
Right? Or he say, when I get you, I'm gonna get you for old and new. Or when
Mm-hmm.
life gets you, it's gonna get you for old and new. So you sitting there like, what the hell is this man talking about? And so
Yeah.
if you got to either dismiss it or you
Mm-hmm.
got to try to pick up what he's putting down.
Mm-hmm.
And that process of picking it up. So then that's how I speak. Like I wouldn't be I don't think, this great speaker for 45 minutes to an hour. Like I feel like if I haven't driven home my point in about 8 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm just talking. Because it's gonna be boom, boom, boom. When you wake up in the morning, put your feet on the floor. When you wake up in the morning, be available. When you wake up in the morning, make your bed. Right?
Yeah.
Those three things now or 6 a.m. was the start time. It doesn't matter what the start time is. Just have a start time.
Mm-hmm. Have your
Just
own
have a
set.
start
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Right? Own your start time. Own it. So, my grandma would say things like share and share alike. Me and my brother, my cousin, she was after school program. She was summer program. Anytime
Mm-hmm.
we were not in school, we would stay with our grandma
Nice.
while our parents went to work. So I picked up a lot of just her ways, her peaceful nature. As I tell people all the time, she is the most spiritual person that I ever known.
Yeah.
And I probably saw her go to church maybe twice. She is the most
Okay.
kind, gentle person I've ever known.
Yeah.
She was like if there was a disciple that I've seen, it would be her. If there
So through
was a
her
Jesus
actions,
disciple,
yeah.
her actions, her spirit, the way she carried herself. She always would say, sometimes you got to give up your rights for somebody else's wrongs.
Yeah. Mm.
Because mind you, this is a woman who she couldn't go to the store and buy a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
She had the money, but during the time she was growing up and coming along, Black people couldn't buy
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. We had to buy Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
We had to buy knee highs.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had to
Yeah.
buy what's the other one? RC Cola.
Yeah.
I know your folks know about that.
Yeah.
That's why I
I
know your
remember.
folks.
I remember having. I can see it right now. My dad, he had he do 12 packs of the RCs in the bar
Right?
downstairs.
Why you think your dad didn't bring home Coca-Cola, man?
That's crazy. Huh.
Because he grew up in a culture where
Mm-hmm.
Black people couldn't buy Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
That's the culture that I come from. So the things they instilled in me, I come from a culture from working from can't see to can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know what are you talking about working from can't see to can't see? Because the sun is down when you go out in the field,
And
and the
it's
sun
down when
is
you come
down when you
back.
come home.
Yeah.
So that's where these things that they're mine, but that culture, that infrastructure, that's where it comes from.
And so what did you do to build upon that? So you had an awesome foundation, what it sounds
Go
like.
to school,
Go
go
to
to school.
school. Okay.
It was as I said it this week. My partner, he and I had a conversation two Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
In fact, I got to call him when I get off this because we always chop it up on
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah, for sure.
He's in Texas, but we went to college together. He's from Arkansas. But the thing is, our people sent us to school not to learn what they didn't know. They sent us to school to articulate what they did know.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like, oh, you go because you're smarter than me. No, I need you to somehow be able to articulate my existence. because my existence as a descendant of first generation descendants of slaves, my existence of being this sharecropper, my existence of being this Black woman who's raised 10 kids who living in a patriarchal society and never really being seen. I need you to be able to articulate my existence. That's why my folks sent me to Clark Atlanta University.
Yeah.
It just so happened that I became a teacher.
And did you kind of want to be a teacher? Because that's a very thankless job. I had a great relationship. I was a recruiter in the Army about 2 years ago for 3 years, and the teachers are my bread and butter. But I had to make sure they knew I was coming from a good place, because the recruiters, we come in, it's already a bad stigma. You just trying to poach my children to join the Army. But I learned so much from them, because I would sit down, like the Army would give us like money, like give them like Chick-fil-A, talk to the principals and third. I got a newfound respect for teachers, not just the monetary aspect, but it's the passion that you have to have for the job, and you actually got it. You got to care. You really have to like.
Yeah, if you don't care, it will destroy.
I mean, yeah. And so, do you watch Abbott Elementary? It's a kind of
Abbott Elementary. My wife watched it. She binge watched it maybe third and Tuesday. And I was like, this is pretty much kind of on point with teachers. It's kind of accurate. Like, every school is not like that, but you can go find a school where it lets you in. It lets you in.
Spending your own money, trying to get money for this, being in the break room, chopping it up, exchanging ideas. And then
the insecurities of the older teachers, like even now, we come back from COVID and we're virtual learning, and we have teachers who've been teaching 25, 30, 35 years, and now they have to use this technology medium that we're using now in terms of virtual as their main recourse. And for them to still do it, like, I think that's something that's getting slept on too. Like, that's another one of the things that I got to bring to light. Like, those 25-year veterans, those 30-year veterans who survived COVID, and on the backside of COVID education, this new virtual aspect, and they still thrive. Much kudos, big props, much honor and celebration. Because see, to a 26-year-old, this is what they've been doing their whole life.
Yeah,
pretty much. This medium right here.
It's not that big of a hump.
And we'll send you the Zoom link, and we are on here right now, and it's all good. Man, think about a 62-year-old teacher who's been doing this 34 years. And you want to talk about the Zoom link, you talking about Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
Like, the anxiety.
Especially, in kindergarten or K through 5, you trying to get the attention span is nothing.
Right.
You're just trying to keep them engaged.
Man.
Yeah. I feel it.
But they'll be able to get on the, sort of on the backside of it and still be successful and still be impactful. Hey, I can't express enough my gratitude to them.
Me too. And I definitely wanted to, I want to give you yours too, your flowers as well. I love the little podcast. It's called Drink Champs. They always giving people their flowers today.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so important. And so I kind of get a little of that. And people was like, I remember being in this event one time. Thank you for your service. I said, no. I said, thank you, because she was a teacher. I said, this is, we good over here. Like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't deal with Johnny attitude every day and couldn't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because we could yell and scream in the Army, but you still got to keep your self-center. You got to take it on the cheek and get mad about it later. So definitely kudos to you.
Man, it was in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade. I wanted to be a computer scientist. I wanted to deal with computers and write programs and this, that, and other. I felt like, but it was because I was good in math. I didn't know any other avenues to go through. And then when I got to geometry, Mr. Math is geometry class, and the light clicked. Like, it makes sense. Life is about angles and proofs, and you being able to
showing your work.
Show your work, write your narrative, and make it sense, being logical. Oh, okay, that's me naturally. Like, even when I was in 5th and 6th grade, I would spend summers, go to sleep reading Socrates out of the encyclopedia, Aristotle, like philosophy. not knowing why. It was just as I was perusing through, those are
Mm.
things that captured my attention. And so Mr. Mathis, and then I had a football coach, Ronald Graham, the late great Ronald Graham, who took me under his wing, or I just made him take me under his wing because wherever he went, right? He was the first cat that, where I grew up, it was rural. It's, you know, I wouldn't say poor. I can't say I was poor. I wasn't poor because I ate every day. I had a plethora of food. I got everything that I needed and some of the things that I wanted. And the only reason I didn't get everything I wanted because my dad was trying to teach me a lesson. But he had worked and sacrificed enough to where I could have really had anything I wanted. So I'm not tripping on that. Yet my great granddaddy owned more than 100 acres of land and had cows and horses and farms. So I never went without. So I'm not going to tell that story of, oh, I was poor and I came up from nothing. No, I was privileged. I was blessed. I'm not ashamed of that. The only thing probably, if you say I'm coming from behind, was I came from the rural South. So I don't know about New York and Chicago and Los Angeles and Houston and all these other places, but the lessons that I got, that's why I use those phrases and use those sayings, because I want to always honor where I come from, because I'm glad of it. Yet saying all that to say, those men and the impact they had on my life and how they made me feel, I want to make other young people feel that way. So that was the spark, that was the seed of wanting to teach back in 15.
That's dope. Yeah. Oh, cool. That's amazing. Again, applause. So as we transition, I don't want to take too much of your day. We're getting towards the end of the podcast, right? This is my personal favorite. Random question of the day. It's not really random today because I had people email me and say, hey, bring back the superpower question. We love it. We love it. We love it. So because I explain it, I'll do it towards the end. So if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And then how would you use it to make money? Anything in the world, any superhero, and if you kind of describe it, I hope we get there. As you could tell in the background, people, I love all things comics and stuff like that. So
if I had the ability to give you a hug, and you could realize the potential and the reason that God sent you here, is what I would aspire to do.
And you would get your fulfillment from that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. That would do it for you.
Whatever money comes from it, so be it. But yet I'm rich. I'm wealthy. I'm in heaven.
If you charge per hug. How much did you charge per hug? To get that's an expensive hug. You have a lot of CEOs that you're doing.
I would charge that you could only manifest this power if you give it to someone else.
I say in about 6 months, you have the world be a better place. Hopefully. And so say it one more time. You give them the hug and then they're able to do what?
They're able to manifest the reason why God sent them here.
Oh, so purpose. Wow. And okay, so.
And the only way you can,
they were able to see the way to do it, right? Because a lot of times with our purpose, we gotta usually it's something with us, not the world. It's something that we gotta overcome or keep at bay, whatever, to exercise.
No, it would be magic. It would be like the superpower is it would instantly come to you. It would be.
But they still gotta earn it though, right? You would know what it was, but they still gotta get to it.
You get to it by giving somebody else the hug, by giving it to somebody else. You only get it by giving it.
Oh, so if you don't do it, if you're selfish, you know that you ain't gonna get it.
You don't ever get it. So it's still your choice. It's up to you, bro. It's your business.
Okay. I'm kind of stumped. Okay. Well, no. So what I do is, for example, one lady said invisibility, and she said, "I want to be invisible, be able to go in different rooms and third. I make money by being like an agent." I forgot what she said. And so when you say stuff like that, usually you kind of have self-esteem issues because you want to be invisible, right? Or another guy said, I think he was like, being able to control minds. And I was like, oh, well, obviously you a villain because you're trying to get in people's head, but with that, I would say that it's kind of like a lot what we talked about is you are very empathetic to the human condition. If you I've listened to a lot of interviews with the creators of like comics, Stan Lee, all the famous people we hear about, and Spider-Man, the Hulk, Superman, why don't they get paid, or why is Superman such like a good guy? He doesn't ever just go, whatever. And having a lot of power, it is a lot of responsibility, for lack of better words. All right. And so being able to understand, like you said, understanding that we're divine, knowing like who we are, remember who you are. And once you do that, the world gets, you realize how finite. I said that a lot too. You realize how finite you are in this big world. We say God is infinite and we're finite. But when you start to double down on who am I, what am I, why do I, where does this power come from? This internal thing, like the Iron Man, like that spark, right? You do see the world differently. And when you understand that and you get to that point to where I know who Oak is, I know who Jay is. Oh man, you free. You woke, whatever the word you want to put on it, right?
Liberation, man. That's the whole quest. That's the whole quest.
The purpose is for other people.
Yes.
And that's the epiphany I had a couple of years ago. I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, yo, this thing, because I'm the creative. She's oh man, she's all brain. She just walking brain, super smart.
Mm-hmm.
And, we even each other out, right? And I said, well, man, like, I get it. You have a passion for PT. I got a passion for, running my mouth and doing the things I do. But I say, ultimately, it really ain't about us. We have it. It's great. We got it. But okay, we're using this thing, this purpose, this gift, whatever you want to call it. But it's supposed to affect other people. It has to.
And
right?
The thing is, it does. It is.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it. The reciprocity is once it does, once you allow your spirit to impact and affect other folks, it's going to uplift you. It's going to be returned unto you tenfold.
Yeah.
It's going to be your overflow, right? It's like Denzel said, and I'm selfish. I'm probably selfish cat, I'm selfish about helping people because it feeds me. That's why the number one quote, the number one thought that I have is everything is a you issue.
Okay.
Because if I'm helping you and it doesn't feed me, then eventually I'm going to grow resentful. I'm going to turn manipulative.
Yeah.
It's going to turn to the left. That's not going to benefit neither one of us. But if you just eat from the plate of my overflow, that's why I say I'm conversing with God. You're eavesdropping on it. I'm not talking to you. But the eavesdropping and what you get from it is what is supposed to uplift you, influence you, impact you, inspire you, right? Yeah. Yet it is me. It's me. And we talk about selfish in a very negative standpoint, right? Selfish just means I'm going to make sure I'm good. It just, the question is, what makes me good? Makes me good, is making me good, hurting other people, stepping on other people, talking about other people, demeaning other people, or is what makes me good, inspiring other people, impacting other people, uplifting other people. Because everyone does it. That's why you can't eradicate your ego, you can only locate it. Where's your ego?
Repeat that one more time, please.
You can't eradicate your ego, you can only locate it. So anytime you feel yourself off, where's my ego right now? If I'm angry, where's my ego right now? If I'm excited, where's my ego right now? Am I excited because I'm looking good, or am I excited because someone else is doing good?
Yeah.
Where's my ego right now?
I had to do that yesterday. I got done and I had to make sure, because that's my thing. Like I had to, if I ever had a flaw, it would be that, my dad, I remember when I was a kid, I forgot what I was so excited about something, and I got in trouble. He was watching Law and Order. I'll never forget it. He said, "Go get the Bible." I was like, "What?" He said, "Go to Proverbs." He said, "Fine, tell me how many times they talk about pride, in Proverbs." So I was like, "It's like," but I got it after like an hour. I'm telling you, I'm a hard learner. I have to get it. I'm blunt force trauma, as we say in the Army. I have to really get it. And so yesterday, I'm me knowing that about myself. I'm like, why am I felt good. I was nervous, but like you said, I kind of used it, and after a while, I was able to kind of get in my groove. But I talked to my wife. I said, no, I really felt good because I felt that people were feeling me.
Mhm.
And then people came up a little after and actually asked questions. I was like, whoa, like something that little old me said made a difference. And so thankfully it was for that. I feel like I've grown a little bit, but I still do self checks even in those high moments just to make sure that it's coming from a genuine place. And
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time. I was watching the show National Geographic, and it was talking about this guy living in the woods, like off the land. He had like Wi-Fi and stuff, but like he was like, "Hey, I'm at peace," and it was like joy, not just happy I got all this stuff, but he'd wake up, go fishing, chop some wood. He building like he sold bookcases or something like that. But he was like in his moment, in his groove, and he was like, "Hey, I don't need all this stuff." I was like, "I'm not saying you need all this stuff, but you could get you can buy a nice little car or something." He's like, "No, man, I'm good with my F-150. I got this." And he said, I'm not just content. He said, but I genuinely have joy. He said, I'm excited. I'm elated every morning. I wake up excited to do the next thing the next day. And I have been chasing that's the high that I chase is
Yeah.
that joy, is something that you can't put a price tag on, something you can't buy. It's just the life that you decide to live and that you're happy and that you're good with it. And if all the other extra stuff comes with it, great.
So be it.
And so for me, I listen to these, famous people and stuff, and it ain't about the money and this and the third. And I used to say, well, it's easy to say that when you already, you up there, right? It's easy to say it ain't about the money. It's cool, but and it don't get me wrong, when you have I guess quote unquote financial freedom or whatever, you're able to do different things to make a change. But ultimately, that God's gonna bless, or whoever, what the universe is gonna reward whatever you believe in those actions because it's sincere and it's coming from a good place. And um, we see people on social media all the time. They have the worst camera, the worst environment, not the most aesthetically pleasing, and they just doing their thing. It's a guy on
Mhm.
TikTok I watch all the time. He just playing with his yo-yo. And he's so passionate about it. He got all these little tricks and he's selling yo-yos and stuff online. He don't care what people think. And people talking in the comments, he was like, yeah, he's just kind of going in. I said, I need that. And so
Yeah.
as I'm still growing and learning, like, this right here, I'm in my space. I'm good. And so I'm always chasing those moments. And that's another reason as we close, I was wanting to have you on here is because I noticed the passion and the drive that you have. And I know that it does come from a sincere place, and we need more people like you doing what you do, not just for, like you said, I don't post every day just to say, hey, I'm feeding the beast. I'm doing it when I have something to say. So you get it when you get it, And so if we have, I think if more people kind of took that mindset, then hey, we'll be in a better place for real.
Appreciate you, boss. I
Yeah, man.
appreciate what you're doing, man.
Yes,
Keep,
sir.
yeah, I can tell you in your space, you're in your element. Stay in it. Stay in it. And I'm saying stay in your element. You
Yeah.
don't have to stay in this.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
This right here. You don't have to stay in this. Stay in your element.
Yes,
Because
sir.
as you grow and when you're 39, your element may be something else. But stay in.
The
Which is
last
it.
segment, and we was going to touch on this a little bit and we'll be done. It's the scripture. No matter what we talk about, whether it's toothpicks or refrigerators or motivation, right? I want to make sure people get some word, whether you believe in God or not. Hey, you can cut it off. It's on you. It's Psalms 118:6. And it's a super dope scripture. Thought on it, chewed on it. And it says, the Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Whew. And so that particular translation, because the other one says like people, individuals, but the new international version, I always recommend people, hey, you get a scripture, like, research it for yourself, right? Don't trust the person that's giving it to you. Hey, do your own research, right? What can mere mortals do to me? And if that don't coincide with what we're talking about, because when you know who you are, when you know God, you got, I always say, hey, God is at that 45 on your hip. You walk a little bit differently. You got that 45 on your hip, rather when you don't, right? Not too much people can tell you, And so when you have that power, what you're talking about, that divinity, that who am I, right? I read a lot of books from actually Elijah Muhammad and other it's a dude named 19 Keys. He talks about knowing who I am, divine masculinity, right? And you say, I know who I am, and I can't. This is, you know, who I am. So I equate that with God for me too. Hey, when Lord's with me, I will not be afraid, because what y'all got on me?
Right.
Mere
In fact,
mortal.
read it again. Read it again. Read it one more time.
The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?
So I want us to understand that as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Who are mere mortals? And I would like for us just to consider for a moment that the only mere mortal that is being talked about in this scripture is you.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of you. Do not be afraid of you. Because you got to remember the nurture aspect. You've been shaped by this world.
Yeah.
You're of this world. But if you're in this world, then that's when you have fear. You're of this world. Make sure you're of this world.
Not getting caught up in it.
Not getting caught up in it. So the only fear you have is to fear yourself. You are the mere mortal that you should not fear.
Okay. And see, as we had the crowd, they'd be snapping. You wouldn't even clap. That was good. I'm gonna give you a props, man. No, I get it. It's me versus me. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, because I think when people first hear that, they feel like it's me against the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nah. Because the world gonna win every time. Because you are part of the world. You're in the world. But when you make it a me against me, you're gonna win every time. Because you have divinity.
There you go.
I mean, for real. So when I hear that, I hear it from the standpoint of I shall not fear myself. We just talked about it. What am I fighting now? I'm fighting to see whether I should go and talk to other educators and stand on stage and offer my experiences, and that I'm fearing myself. That's the only fear. Whatever it is that you're battling, whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is that you got doubt about right now, it is you that you're fearing. It's not other people. You're fearing how you're going to feel if you are rejected by other people. That's what you fear. You don't fear the rejection.
Dang, that's deep. You might not give yourself the props, but I will. Even I remember, I think when you first came on, you know, he kind of telling, you know, everybody about you and stuff, and you know, you super humble, and I really appreciate that. That's why it's up to us to give you your flowers too, because you know, no matter how humble or, you know, to a place we get, I do think that from the people that matter, you want, you know, every now and then you just kind of feel it. You know, you enjoy to move forward, but you know,
it's wind beneath my wings. Now, don't get me wrong. Like it's like, oh,
that's good
serving
though.
this purpose.
Okay, man.
But
thank you.
You are the more than you fear, man.
That's it. Well, hey, we didn't go too long. I know we could go probably another hour. I really hope y'all enjoyed the conversation with my newfound friend Oak. This is No Tact Talk podcast, with the only rule is to have no tact. This is always a reminder to live life on purpose and always live with a little no tact in your life. See you next time. Peace.
6 a.m. was start time.